I've grown up watching South Asian entertainers acting as thick-accented geeks, antisocial individuals who seem to make everything awkward, or quite famously known, convenience store clerk. When they're not represented as stereotypes, non-South Asian creators find a way to further exoticize South Asia with their Orientalist views. Only recently has the South Asian community seen the emergence of entertainers standing up to this stereotype. One of the first South Asian actresses to break out of this mold was Mindy Kaling.
I'm very smart and successful, and I'm hot.
You may know Mindy Kaling from her acting and writing in The Office as Kelly Kapoor, and later her own show, The Mindy Project, as Mindy Lahiri. More recently, though, Mindy Kaling made headlines with her Netflix show Never Have I Ever, which she wrote with co-creator Lang Fisher. Never Have I Ever follows 15-year-old Devi Vishwakumar's relationships, friendships, and navigating high school after her father's death. Some may ask, why is Never Have I Ever such a big deal? Well, it's a big deal to the South Asian community because it approaches topics otherwise taboo, such as mental health, relationships, and confronting cultural identity, while keeping the teen show tropes we see in mainstream television, therefore normalizing South Asian coming-of-age narratives in mainstream media. Taboo topic number 1, mental health. Following the death of her father, Devi visits a therapist. In most South Asian households, that may be seen as unusual, as mental health is not usually a topic of discussion. We see the tension of that subject between Devi and her mother, Nalini. To see Devi visit a therapist and attempt to tackle out her problems, even if it's not directly about her father, shows progress in South Asian representation. At the beginning of the show, we see Devi hesitant to share her thoughts on her father's death.
We could talk about my dead dad anytime. I'm in a very specific window right now.
But by the end of the show, her mother is actually the one to open up to the therapist.
True. She said, quote, "I wish you were the one who had died."
This demonstrates how mental health is viewed on a generational scale in the Asian American community, as Devi, a first-generation American, has the luxury of talking with her friends and therapists about her emotions, whereas Nalini, an immigrant who has no support system following the death of her husband, is left to bottle up her emotions and only hope for the best for her daughter. This is why I think Devi and her mother both experience a coming-of-age narrative within the topic of mental health. Taboo topic number 2, confronting cultural identity. Viewers can see Devi having trouble outwardly confronting her own cultural identity in hopes of fitting in at her high school and looking cool in front of Paxton.
Saris is a rite of passage for Indian women. Deal with it.
Why can't I just wear a kurta and jeans like I normally do?
When I say a community that hasn't been accepting of their culture, I especially mean in mainstream media, which has always exoticized Asian American culture instead of embracing it. Episode 4 addresses Devi's trouble developing her South Asian American identity, as she is distinctly portrayed as unaccepting of her culture. She is met with 2 other characters who openly accept their South Asian identity, yet she continues disowning it in hopes of gaining respect from characters like Paxton.
Can you imagine how dorky they would look doing this anywhere else?
That's my sister. Why are you at this lame fest?
I actually really wanted to come.
To Ganesh Puja at a public high school in the valley? Are you insane?
Many South Asian viewers can relate to Devi's character because although Devi is alone in feeling embarrassed by her culture on screen, it is a sentiment shared by many off-screen. The recent push for diversity and acceptance is incredible, but negative attitudes towards immigrant families still exist and can erode cultural image. There is an inherent need to fit in, and often it comes at the expense of one's own heritage, says Radhika Menon in an article about the show.
You know, for a lot of South Asian youth, it's hard to figure out what makes you South Asian enough. And I feel like Devi's trying to figure out where she belongs.
Some old loser was telling me that I'm too Indian. And some other people think I'm not Indian enough. And honestly, all I want to do is eat a donut, but I'm stuck here.
Topic number 3, authenticity of her character and culture. Now, this topic isn't necessarily taboo, but it is new to mainstream media, and that is Devi's authentic appearance. Devi embraces her dark skin, big hair, and bushy eyebrows. It's just embedded into her character.
You shouldn't wear so much makeup. It'll collect on your mustache.
At least I can grow a mustache.
This is a big step in representation because sometimes with the lack of representation in American media, many South Asian teens look to Bollywood for representation. But even in Bollywood films, to play the lead, the woman often has to be light-skinned to the extent she looks kind of white. Colorism is very real in South Asian culture, says Pravina Rudra in a Glamour magazine article about the show. This proves the importance of Mindy Kaling's role in Never Have I Ever's production. To have a South Asian woman who has experienced Hollywood from a mainstream perspective, her hand in character development allows for better representation.
I grew up Indian and Hindu in a predominantly white community, and I did not feel comfortable with my Hinduism because, you know, it's like so overtly colorful and it's kind of inherently confident even when I didn't feel confident. And I think that the character of Devi, we wanted her to feel the same way in this surroundings.
The authentic portrayal of the local South Asian community gathering for Ganesh Puja in episode 4 paints South Asian culture in a non-stereotypical light, showing mainstream audiences were more than what is exoticized by white creators. Never Have I Ever is a big deal because it is written by an Indian woman who puts Indian characters and culture at the forefront of the show. When what is being shown on screen is not reflected behind the scenes, South Asian women in much Western mainstream television are sexless sidekicks, fussily serious, or simply the mothers and siblings of South Asian men. This can inform us how we've been taught to see ourselves, as well as how the white gaze continues to typify us, says Tara Joshi in a Guardian article about the show. The reason why films like Crazy Rich Asians and The Farewell received so much praise was because it was made by Asian Americans for the Asian American audience. Although any viewer can find something to relate to in the show, this coming-of-age narrative was long overdue for the South Asian community.
Good job, up here.
Hell yeah.